1150 KSAL listeners, you're here today with Joan Jerkovich, your life coach. And I'm feeling not so much like a life coach, I have to say today, as a little bit of a crazy girl, because there's been a lot of talk here in the radio station about my caller coming up later in the show. This is the woman I've been promoting who's from Vegas and talks about how she's blonde and beautiful and buxom, and she doesn't have any women friends because she's just too attractive. And I cannot tell you how many of the men here in the studio has stopped me and said, Joan, I can't wait to hear that show. Well, it's kind of been an interesting one because another piece of this is that I need to tell you that this show gets a little racy. This call with this woman from Vegas, we're talking about her thinking maybe she can have some gay guys as best friends because women don't like her. There's some talk about threesomes, and all I can say is crazy girl life coach sitting here today went to the station manager and say, I really kind of think maybe you need to give me a late night broadcast spot. So here it is. I'm putting it up. I'm going to blame all the guys here at the station for saying, yeah, Joan, go for it. But first of all, as you know I do to promo what my caller's coming up, I want to tell you that I went on the website and I kind of put in this Google search that said, what about women that are too attractive for female friends? And I found a really interesting thread that I'm going to share with you off the site. I always give credit where credit is due. Off the site, askmen.com. Now, this goes back a few years. I'm sure you could Google it yourself. But what this thread came from a first comment from Southern Girl, she called herself, and she said, I've pretty much always been shunned and excluded by other girls, not because I can't get along with them, but because they've just always disliked me. They never really invite me to go places, hang out, even when I would make the effort to invite them to go places. They always had an excuse as to why they couldn't. They've always been catty towards me, talking about me behind my back, even when I was a friend to them, supporting them in whatever they needed. So needless to say, I don't have any female friends. I find it easier to get along with guys. I was always a tomboy as a kid, so I always felt more at ease around guys than I did around girls. It's still that way to this day. So guys out there, how would you feel about a girl that didn't have any female friends? Let's talk about some of these comments that came back to Southern Girl. One guy writes, of all the billions of females on this planet, you are not friends with any? The common factor is you. So Southern Girl posts another comment that says, I have had a lot of guy friends tell me that they think it's because I'm attractive and they're just jealous, meaning the women are jealous, but I don't see it. I'm also shy, socially awkward person, so that could have something to do with it as well. Well, I know Southern Girl was specifically asking guys to comment. Of course, there were some women who jumped on, and one woman jumped on to respond and say, while I've run into some catty women, I can say that they only consist of a minority of the women I know. I've had no issues making female friends, despite also growing up a tomboy and working in a male-dominant field. I've always made female friends very easily at every job I've ever worked at. And she goes on to say that, in my opinion, women who claim they cannot get along with other women because they are catty are in actuality the catty ones. There could be some truth to that. But this next comment sounds a little bit like my call with Rochelle coming up. Because it kind of said, your intentions toward them may be well-meaning, but you may want to examine your own behavior to see if you are unwittingly doing something obnoxious or offensive. And I know some of what I talked to Rochelle about was just that. Now, let me jump into a new storyline from another woman who put up a post, and she's kind of scratching her head at, why this person thinks women don't like her. She's kind of agreeing with the guys here. She's saying that at my new job, I've made friends with a couple of girls, and we've been getting along really well. A woman who was recently hired, when we were out there to welcome her, she was having some relationship issues and we felt bad. We wanted to take her out and cheer her up, so we took her out to dinner. And then we found out what kind of person she really is. She was constantly talking about herself. She was never genuinely interested in anything that we were saying. She was always interrupting us. Even at work, she'll interrupt us at work to only just come over and come around, talk about herself some more. She made rude, catty remarks when one of the girls got flowers from her boyfriend at work. So coincidentally, she says she has very few female friends and claims that most women are catty. She also claims that every man she ever dated is let's just say a jerk. And she also says that the women at her old job were also catty, and she went on to say other not nice things about those women that I cannot repeat on radio. So in other words, she's looking at all of this as everyone else's problem, but it's not hers. And we at work know fully well that if we cut her off, she'll just go out and talk to other people about us, saying that we are the catty women that she knows at work. Well, let's explore this issue with my caller when she comes up later in the show. But next, I want to talk to Chris, who also calls in to say that he's having trouble with people skills. He feels awkward around people. Let's explore this with Chris right here on the Joan Jerkovich Show on 1150 KSAL.